Most Muslims believe that Jesus was not actually crucified, yet there are other Muslims today who disagree and call it blasphemy that Allah deceived billions of people by making it to appear to them as if Jesus was crucified. Let us listen to Sheikh Imran Hussein.
What did Allah do to make it appear that he died? Let me warn you. And my language is sometimes very harsh because that's the only language some people can understand.
Go ahead then. Do what you got to do.
Don't come with this nonsense.
Ooh.
Because it is not only pathetic nonsense, it is absolutely sinful.
Pathetic.
To say that Allah, wa na'udhu billah min hadha, Allah calls someone else to take the appearance of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, and that innocent man, innocent because he never claimed to be the Messiah, he was crucified. Wait for judgment day with that nonsense. Pathetic nonsense.
Pathetic.
It's not there in the Quran, it's in your imagination. That's why it is. And yet it took the world of Islam by storm. What a brainwash ummah we are today.
Ooh, hold on now. Hold on now. He's hitting y'all with the facts. He's hitting y'all with the truth of the matter. What's really going on, the real shake. He ain't like the other ones. He ain't like the other ones. He's hitting y'all with the facts like, hey, y'all making Allah to seem something like he's not. Well, I mean, we believe he is, but y'all shouldn't believe that he's that way. Y'all shouldn't believe that Allah's out here replacing folks. You know where this comes from? If y'all didn't know, right? Muhammad heard a bunch of stuff. Got a bunch of stories going on with everything going on where he was at. And what he heard was from the Gnostics. If you don't know, man, them Gnostics were some crazy folks that tried to play Jesus like he was just some sort of trickster, like he's some sort of Loki, right? So this is what Muhammad heard, and he just started to just throw it in with all the other things that he heard in the Quran. A bunch of stories from everywhere, threw it in. So with these Gnostics, right, they was like, oh, well, Jesus did some little abracadabra, alakazam, switcheroo, switched his face up with, I can't remember who, but, and then that's where the deceit comes from. And that's when Jesus was really like, nah, bro, I ain't getting crucified today. So then they sent the other man to do so. If I'm not mistaken, I think, I don't know if it's the Gnostics that thought it was Judas Iscariot, or if it's just like the Muslim folks that think it's like Judas, like scholars, not really like set in stone in their doctrine. But I think, you know, some people try to say it's like Judas or something like that. But nah, Jesus ain't like that. Jesus ain't like that. But yet Muhammad took that story and now it makes his God seem bad because his God is making it seem like, yo, let's just go ahead on and deceive a whole bunch of people. Crazy stuff. But nah, this brother right here, he's real with it. He's real with it. He's saying, nah, foolish, pathetic. Let's get back into it.
You're going to tell Allah on Judgment Day, you caused that man to assume the appearance of someone?
Not me. Nope.
And he who never claimed to be the Messiah, he was crucified. That is an act of injustice. You attributing injustice to Allah? What foolishness.
What foolishness. Pack them up.
But where are the scholars who will correct this foolishness?
If we go by the majority opinion of Muslims that Jesus was not crucified on the cross, but Allah, deceiving everybody, made it to appear to them, then there is a very important question to ask. Is this a new idea from Muhammad, or was it already known many centuries before Islam? Now, where did this idea truly come from? In the late 2nd century to 3rd century, Gnostic texts started to appear explaining that Simon of Cyrene, the figure who helped Jesus carry the cross, that he was actually the real person who was crucified instead. Let me read you a quote of a Gnostic version of Jesus mocking people.
I was laughing at their ignorance when the crowd mistakenly crucified Simon of Cyrene and asserting that this deception was made possible because I, Jesus, was altering my shapes, changing from form to form.
Early church fathers like Ignatius were exposing this known heresy called Docetism in the 2nd century.
Man, let's go. Big Ignatius doing this thing, disputing the heresies, wiping it out. Like, nah, bro, this ain't cool. This ain't what it's about. This ain't who Jesus is. Y'all watch Pokemon? Y'all know the Pokemon Ditto? How he just transforms into people? And that's like always just like what has the blank look on his face? But then he transforms. So they try to make Jesus have to be Ditto. They try to make Jesus, the holy, the true God, out to be Ditto. That's crazy, y'all. That's crazy. But yet, again, when these stories are circulating and you don't really know, and you know, Muhammad was illiterate, he couldn't read or write. So he's just hearing these stories. And then, boom, it comes out that, man, he probably shouldn't be using these particular ones. But when you don't know, you don't know. When the people around you aren't holding you accountable and they don't know, you get a whole bunch of amalgamation of everything. That's what it is. Like I stated earlier. Shout out to Rob Christian, man, doing his thing, putting out the work, showing the truth behind the matter, where things come from. This was well before, was known to be false, well before Muhammad was even thought about, was even a blip on the radar. Again, shout out to the church fathers, been holding it down, been showing where the heresies were. Y'all better recognize. Let's get back into it.
Do you think that Muslims got this idea from Gnostic literature?
How much can we be sure about the crucifixion of Jesus and whether he was indeed crucified?
Right. I know in Islam the teaching is that he was not actually crucified. I think on a historical basis, Jesus was absolutely crucified. I think that there is, as a historian, there's almost no doubt about that. And in case your audience doesn't know, I don't identify as a Christian. I mean, I was raised a Christian, but I'm an atheist now. I don't have a particular stake in any of this information personally. But I think the crucifixion of Jesus is probably the best attested, one of the best attested events of his life. It's found all over the place in our early sources. It's even mentioned by non-Christian sources, and it's a kind of a complicated thing for me to argue. Although I can at length, if somebody wants me to, it's not the kind of thing that Christians would have made up about him if they wanted to make up legends. If they wanted to make up something about Jesus, it wouldn't be that he got killed by the enemy, tortured to death.
Yo, hold on now. What's that sound like to y'all, huh? What's that sound like? I'll give y'all a little bit of time for y'all who want to type in the comments. What's that sound like? Don't that sound like a little bit of the minimal facts arguments? Shout out to Dr. Gary Habermas, Mike Lacona, and everybody else who uses the minimal facts argument. Doesn't that sound like that? He said that, the early writings, the outside biblical text, saying the embarrassment of the matter, they wouldn't be writing embarrassing stories. They'd be saying that, we were the first ones to see Jesus and Jesus was on the throne the whole time doing his thing. But nah, sounds like Bart Ehrman, Dr. Bart Ehrman was out there spitting out the minimal facts a little bit, just a little bit though, a little bit. Sound like that. But that's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is Islam goes away from historically reliable sources. Islam goes away from scientific sources. Islam goes away from all these particular things because, again, Muhammad grabbed everything. He grabbed everything and thought, oh, well, what makes sense or what gets put together, not knowing the full context of what it was that he was really doing. So the history of the matter, the truth of the matter is that historians most unanimously, well, not you can't say most unanimously, but almost unanimously, very close to being, 90 to, 10% or 99, whatever the case, know that Jesus Christ died on the cross. Early writings, 1 Corinthians 1 through 15, prior to the scriptures being written, early creeds, months after the fact, months after the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ was already out there. So, the fact that Islam is pushing this narrative just doesn't follow anything but heresies.
What they would have made up is that he became the king and he's sitting on the throne in Jerusalem. But they couldn't make that up because everybody knew it wasn't true. And so they had to say, well, yeah, he got crucified. But then they ended up saying that because he was crucified, that was significant, that it was the plan of God. And but they're kind of explaining it. They're not, they're explaining it because they got to explain it because he was crucified.
Yeah. The Islamic account is very strange. It is that I guess that people think Jesus was crucified and that somebody was crucified, but it wasn't Jesus. It was just somebody else who people thought was Jesus, and it's a very strange thing to think.
Well, it is. And it didn't start with Islam. It actually there's a Christian teacher in the 2nd century named Basilides who was a Gnostic. And he wrote a gospel. He wrote a Gnostic gospel. We don't have the gospel anymore, but we have a church father who talks about it. And in his account, what he says is that there was a fellow in the Gospels. Jesus is carrying his cross, and they impel somebody else to carry the cross for him to the place of crucifixion. And according to Basilides, what happened is this other person whose name was Simon from Cyrene, which is in North Africa, Simon Cyrene carries the cross, and when he gets there, Jesus pulls an identity switch. He's the Son of God. He can do miracles. He makes Simon of Cyrene look just like him.
Yo, real quick, you ever see a movie called Face Off? It's with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. So in the movie, they get their faces taken off because one's a bad guy, one's a good guy, and the good guy is going to infiltrate the bad guy's operation. So they got the faces off, bam, put it on, and then they go about life that way, right? Was this the inspiration of that movie? The Gnostics of Jesus being like, ha, mask off, and then boom, now we got movies like Face Off nowadays. That's crazy when you really think about it, right? No, I'm just playing. That just came to my mind though. Let's get back to the video.
And then he looks just like Simon of Cyrene. And so the Romans think they're crucifying Jesus, but they're crucifying Simon, and Jesus is standing by the cross laughing. Presumably Simon didn't think it was so funny because he's trying to help out here.
The point is, does it require for Muhammad, the false prophet, to come couple centuries later to tell us what was already known in the 3rd century Gnostic texts? I mean, what kind of trick is this? Making you think that Jesus was crucified. The entire Islamic religion is made out of this idea, and over 1 billion of Muslims today believe in this. What kind of trick is their false god Allah playing?
Man, that's a great question. Can y'all answer? Hey, man, so that was Rob Christian breaking down how that, if you think Jesus hasn't been crucified, it just doesn't follow. Doesn't follow the historical. And again, we have people like Bart Ehrman breaking it down, and a host of other people that are historians, that are textual critics, whatever. When it comes to the historical Jesus, he died on the cross. Now, again, people will say, well, Allah can do whatever he wants. Man, Allah's doing a lot to pretty much go against everything. He's going against science, history, whatever. His own word. There's a lot that Allah's going against. So, man, I don't know if it was me, I couldn't stand or believe in something that's on such shaky ground. That's why my foundation, my belief is firm rock. From the historical aspect, the logical aspect, any way that you want to slice it. The true God, the triune God of Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Only God that makes sense. So that's why I love learning about the other heretical views and also Islam, because all it does is just make more and more sense when it comes to the truth. That all these other things crumble when it comes to comparison, but yet there's one that's still standing. And speaking of still standing, if you're with your boy, whether you're standing up watching this or sitting down watching this or maybe laying down watching this, either way, if you made up to this point, go ahead on like, subscribe. If you rock with your boy, you ain't got to, but the option is there. The option is there if you want to like, subscribe, and continue to see some of this content. And if you want to do that, might as well hit the noti bell so you can be notified anytime that I drop. With these pre-recorded reactions, I have live reactions, and I have people come on and share the testimony. Learn and grow about the truth. Learn about God, learn about all the things that he's given us so that we can learn. That's what I love to do here at the Scripture Plug channel. Learn, love God. Catch y'all next time. Your boy's out. God bless.